So there's a lot of schools that are using it as an advantage to them and as a way to get guys into their program and to get them on campus. So absolutely, it's valuable, I think, from the player perspective.
All right. So if I'm a high school kid and I'm looking for exposure, college camps are one of the things that a lot of people look to. What are some pros and cons to either going to them or not going to them?
I think right off the bat, one of the pros is that if there's a school that you're interested in and a school that you've been thinking about, maybe you want to go to, it puts you directly in front of that coaching staff and in front of some of those players for a whole day, maybe even 2 days. So just right off the bat, you're getting that direct exposure that, like we talked about before, you kind of don't have to take that chance on being the diamond in the rough. You're kind of putting yourself out there and making yourself available to that coaching staff. So again, kind of reaching out to them beforehand, saying, "Hey, this is me. These are my stats that kind of people look for nowadays: 60 time, exit velocity, just kind of your basics stats that you'll see on a perfect game PBR type website. Uh, get your name out there before you get there, and the coaching staff is aware that you're coming and kind of the tools you possess, so they can kind of have an idea of maybe where you'll fit in or where they'll project you. And then obviously you got to show up and then show off those same tools and show the coaches something that can help them add value to their program. But the most important part of that is just kind of putting yourself out there and putting yourself directly in front of a school that you think your talent will suit best in. So I would say that would be a big pro. A con maybe is that uh, on that same note, you go to a school, you go to a camp, and they're not interested, or you don't get the kind of feedback that you're looking for, which can be tough for a lot of guys, So uh, just putting yourself out there, like anything else in life, you're opening yourself up to either that positive or negative criticism, which can be very valuable and is very valuable. So I think something that a lot of guys do, well, they'll just go to the camp and kind of showcase what they got, uh, get their at bats in the game, and then just kind of leave. I think something that's really important is talking to the coaches while you're there, trying to build a relationship, show them that you're interested in them, and then kind of reaching back out. Hey, what do you think? How'd I look? And a lot of coaches will reach back out and kind of give you the numbers that they had, give you a little report on what they had on you, and give you that feedback that you're looking for. So I think going to those camps and just making it as advantageous as possible for a prospect is really what's most important, and kind of not just showing up and hoping for the best that they'll notice you when you get there. So setting yourself up for success by reaching out beforehand. Obviously, the biggest piece of it is going and performing at those camps, building relationships with the coaches while you're there, making yourself noticeable and kind of making it impossible for them not to notice you while you're there, and then reaching out afterwards, kind of seeing how it went, getting some feedback, and kind of knowing where you stand and where to draw the line in the sand. So it's a very valuable tool for a lot of guys, and those camps are very, very valuable for the schools too, So they get to see a lot of the guys that are local to the area, a lot of guys that maybe they don't know of that are from different regions and stuff. So I think on the two-way street, it's just as valuable for both sides to kind of get a lot out of it and help themselves out in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So if I'm, kind of paying all of this money to come to camps and stuff that I'm interested at universities, is it true that you, you know, you recruit guys out of those camps and continue that relationship, I guess, until they get committed or even come on campus?
Yeah, no doubt. As a school, you're looking for guys at those camps, and a lot of those camps do have guys that schools will become interested in, and it's another way for them to get an easy look at guys that maybe they've already been looking at, and they kind of want that one last look before they go ahead and offer. So there's a lot of schools that are using it as an advantage to them and as a way to get guys into their program and to get them on campus. So Absolutely, it's valuable. I think from the player perspective, it's kind of, if you're not an SEC guy, maybe you don't go to an SEC camp. If you're not an ACC guy, maybe you don't go to an ACC camp. And that's kind of just, again, like some other stuff that we've talked about, looking in the mirror, uh, understanding what you want, understanding the kind of player you are, and knowing how to market yourself. So if you think you're one of those fringe SEC guys, maybe you go to an SEC camp and kind of be able to market yourself and the stuff we were just talking about, having those relationships, talking to the coaches, telling them you're interested, and then having a good camp and showing that you have the tools. So it's kind of putting yourself in advantageous positions and going to camps that you think are schools where you'll be able to play at and kind of not overshooting your boundaries. But for a lot of guys, also some of those bigger schools, it's a good experience to play in front of those big schools, learn what that feels like, put the pressure on yourself to perform in some of those big schools. And maybe you're not a bigger school guy, but then when some of the smaller schools start coming after you and are getting looks on you, you feel more comfortable in those situations, which is really what baseball is all about. It's being uncomfortable or being comfortable in those uncomfortable situations. So there's a lot of good experiences to take away from it. And I think there's a lot of value to it from a player perspective.
Yeah, and I think not only are you going to the camps for recruiting purposes, but you can learn a lot of skills just from being at the camp and playing with guys that are better than you and being around coaches that know a lot more than you. So what kind of mindset should I be going into the camp with? If I'm looking to get recruited, but that can't be the forefront in your mind. So what's the mentality that I'm going into the camp to be successful?
Yeah, anytime you go anywhere in life and you know that there's people who either be more talented, more comfortable, more whatever than you, and there's people in positions of authority like coaches who are probably smarter than you and know more about the game than you give yourself an opportunity to be able to learn and to be able to get better. So, everybody, if 200 kids go to a camp, you want to be the one that gets the offer and stuff like that. But there's 199 other kids who are looking for an offer and trying to do the same thing that you're doing. So it's opportunities to learn from the good, opportunities to learn from the bad. Maybe why did this kid get on the list? Maybe why did this kid get crossed off the list, and kind of pick stuff up from people who are more talented than you, and pick stuff up from coaches who know a lot about the game. And when they take you through those seminars early on in the camp, just listen and keep an open mind and see what their program's all about and how they can make you better and what you can take home and continue to develop your skill set on.
What's a good way to evaluate my skills as a high school player so I know kind of where I might fall? What's a realistic shot? This is a stretch school, this is kind of my sweet spot school, and this is a school where I would come in and be the best player right away.
I think that's the most important piece of that, is talking to people who know a lot about the game. So high school coaches, your travel coach, people who have seen a lot of players over the years go on to play at those college levels, and who's had success where, who kind of overreached where they can go, who went somewhere and really developed into the player that they could be. So not telling yourself, this is who I am and I'll only settle for this. So a lot of the times the parents will kind of oversell you on what your abilities are too. So just getting a lot of opinions from a lot of different people who have kind of been there and done that, and know what kind of player plays at what kind of school and where you'll be a good fit, I think is the best way for a player to kind of evaluate where they are, where they stand, and where they could potentially go in the future.
Yeah, and I think that also lends itself into what you want out of the college experience. If you're going to a big school and you're not a big school player, knowing that you're going to sit the bench, and if you're perfectly fine with that because you're at a big school, then that's your experience. But kind of getting that understanding of how you fit into that program that you might be going to.
Exactly. Like, do you want to go? Are you a catcher and you want to go to a big school and you want to sit in the bullpen in Omaha? Like, there's plenty of guys who are content with that and want to do that, and then there's plenty of guys who want to go somewhere and start for 4 years, and there's guys who want to maybe challenge themselves and sit the bench for a year and then get into the lineup or the rotation for those last 2 or 3 years. So again, it's what you want. It's what you want out of your college experience. Exactly. Like, what do you want to do and what do you want to accomplish? Are you more team centered, player centered? Like, just talk to yourself, look in the mirror again, and ask yourself what you want out of the experience. So,
So it's not only camps for big schools, small schools at every level, whether it's NCAA, NAIA, JUCO, they all have camps. Um, don't overlook those any level at any program. If you're interested in playing at that small school, um, go to the camp, ask for the email contact information. Can you talk about some of that stuff? Maybe it's not all glorious Power Five baseball
yeah.
everyone's always shooting for, and it shouldn't be. There's plenty of good players at every single level. Can you talk more about um, you're in D1, so talk about the D1 camps, maybe Sienna's camp.
Yeah, we had to stop our camps because of COVID, but we're looking to pick up on the prospect camps again once summer rolls around. So we use them as a big tool. If there's guys in the area who are interested in us, guys that want to stay local or guys that kind of want to get out of where they're at, every school, no matter NAI, D3, D2, JUCO, everybody uses them as a way to evaluate players and see if they're players there that they can add to their team to help their team have success in the future. So yeah, don't look past, don't just go to the biggest camps just to say you went to the biggest camps to put it on Twitter that you were at this school or that school. Again, kind of looking in the mirror, talking to parents and coaches and past players about where they think your skill set will fit. Just exploring all your options and going to all the camps is a good thing for schools that you're interested in, schools that have your major schools, because it's more than just the athletic piece. You're looking for the whole experience. So kind of putting yourself out there and going to those different camps to see what the different levels are like are a huge piece of it. Again, to see what you want out of your college experience.
Can you talk about what kind of guy are the camps best for? Are they for the guy that's super high profile, or is it more under the radar, kind of that guy?
I mean, that's tough. That's tough to say unless you kind of see what's in front of you. But at the end of the day, every school is looking for guys who can make their team better. So guys who maybe don't, when they go to a showcase for maybe a perfect game or PBR and they don't have the exit velocity or mound velo that flies off the charts and kind of makes your eyes stand out in that way. But the guys who are gamers and know how to take the extra base and all that different stuff can really stand out at a camp like that, where maybe a coach can see if for more than the one at bat or one inning that they're kind of limited to in the summer circuit because they're running around trying to look at everybody. So I think for a lot of those gamers, it really helps them out to be able to play a full game in front of the college coaches and showcase their talents outside of just kind of the metrics that guys get on a lot of different players. So I think whether you're more of a toolsy guy or the dirtbag player who really gets after it and knows the game, I think it's valuable for everybody.
All right. What are the camps like? If I sign up for a camp as a high school guy, what should I expect when I'm going into camp? What might I get out of it?
Yeah, so a lot of the college camps, you'll see the whole coaching staff should be there at all the college camps. So your head coach, pitching coach, hitting coach, volunteer, everybody's kind of involved on that front, and they'll put on a little bit of a seminar, whether in their specific area, so catching, hitting, defense, pitching. So you'll get to meet the coach and kind of get their thoughts on that side of the game individually, small groups, stuff like that. And then I think probably the most valuable piece is that at a lot of these college camps, there'll be players from the team as well. So you can kind of pick their brain. You're getting probably a speech from a lot of the coaches on just their very broad of what they think about the game, how they teach the game, what a normal day looks like. But having a lot of the players there that are actually on the team, you can kind of get that feedback of really getting in depth on what a day is like, what a practice is like, what a season is like. So you can really get the full understanding. But again, that goes back to putting yourself out there when you're there and not just kind of going and showing up and then trying to showcase yourself and leaving. You're putting yourself out there to try and make relationships, try and learn as much as possible and making the most out of the experience. So you'll get that side, you'll get probably a seminar on pitching, hitting again. And then you kind of go through your showcase portion where you're taking BP, you're running your 60, getting all those metrics on that side, just so the coaches can have something to go back to when they're talking about all the players post camp. So somebody can say, I thought this guy did this, and then you go and look at the numbers, and you're kind of taking that holistic approach of them as a baseball player, their metrics, where you project them to be by the time they get on campus. And then a lot of camps will have the game portion where you're playing games against the other campers. So you really get the whole experience, where you get the seminar piece where you're learning from the coaches, the current players, and all that stuff. You're getting the showcase piece where you can get those metrics, maybe to send out to some other schools like that. Hey, I hit this number at this camp. I did this at this camp. I ran a 6.5 at this camp. And then you get to play full games in front of the coaching staff, which is super important and can get a lot of guys on the map. So having a good game, having a good inning, a good outing can be really valuable for your experience. Oh, and you'll get a tour of most facilities. They'll take you on the tour, so you can kind of see what different schools, different facilities look like, and kind of see how different places do different things, have different setups. And again, that just goes back into the kind of that holistic approach of them showing you what they have to offer and you showing them what you have to offer.
What's a good way about going and getting feedback from the players or the coaches? So if I'm a pitcher in the camp, how do I get good feedback where I can continue to build my skills from the coach?
Yeah, I think just going and talking to the coaches afterwards, saying thank you, saying how do you think it went. A lot of the times they'll be sitting under the tent behind home plate watching the games. So, you'll kind of have that time to go and talk to them and reach out to them and see what they think. And then if you don't get that opportunity, if something weird happens where you don't have the chance to talk to them, you can always shoot them an email afterwards. Hey, coach, thanks for letting me come to the camp. The experience was awesome. What's your honest feedback? Because they've got notes on every guy, or should have notes on every guy if they're doing it the right way. What's your honest feedback? Where do you think I lie among the other guys that you're looking at? What do you think I can improve upon? And kind of where do we stand? And they should be able to give you some honest feedback on that. Again, if they're doing it the right way. So.
Yeah, and don't be nervous about going up to you and asking those questions, because that's the whole point of this thing, is to kind of
Exactly
where you're at.
Yeah, they have the camps or we have the camps, I guess I should say, to improve the program. And if you think that you should be a part of that and improving the program, then don't be afraid to go up to a coach and see what they think and introduce yourself. So get the most out of it that you can.
Yeah, and the face-to-face, shake their hand, look in their eye, have that face-to-face conversation will go significantly further than an email. And then I would even recommend doing an email as well. You want to make sure.
Yeah, doing both. Again, just put yourself out there as much as possible. And if it's a good fit, it's a good fit. And if it's not, it's not. But the coaching staff should be pretty honest with you about where they think you fall in the game. And just putting yourself out there, being open to feedback is an awesome opportunity. So take advantage of it.